Hail, jabronis. How's it going? Welcome to the 11th segment of Dark Horse Discourse, and also essentially the pre-closeout stream for the Vigilantes Creed campaign, which ends tomorrow night. And for those that are unaware, we're going to be closing out on Katie Did's channel tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern. So that'll be a lot of fun. See if we can kind of close out with a bit of a bang. So planning on having some drinks and just celebrating a very enjoyable and successful campaign. So if anyone has a chance to swing by, that would be great. So let's check in with the chat. Who do we have so far? We have Tank Ferret. Hail all you magnificent bastards. How's it going? As always, early. Mr. Zombie Boy, welcome. Got Jimmy the Lumberjack. Said he blew off a client meeting to watch you smug jabroni. Well, thank you. Try not to disappoint. So, all right. Well, first off, I'd like to start with a BA recommend segment. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right. So first recommendation for this week is gonna, of course, be an indie comic, and kind of connecting from last week's recommendation or 2 weeks ago, because last week I was pretty sick and yeah, wasn't ready to do all my segments. But 2 weeks ago we went over the Phenomenon comic magazine by Mr. Patrick Quinlan, a friend of the channel. And this week I went through Phenomenal Tales #1, The Minotaur. And this was a fantastic read, which I wasn't surprised by that because I really enjoyed his Phenomenon comic magazine. And, one of the things I had mentioned during that was it was great to see a setting like outside of the United States or traditional, let's say Europe, Asia, right? This is set in the Soviet Union, and it also has a lot of supernatural intrigue tied into it, and super serums, things of that nature. And this one did not disappoint. He had a great art team, especially with Peter Gilmore doing the cover and the colors as well. He had a great back cover by Mr. Paul Ravoche, who is a fantastic guy and artist. And yeah, I mean, it tells you a really good story. Basically, it's going back to like 1995. It's at the border of China and Russia, and they have a war in between the two. And it's right after there's a massive nuclear event that they had survived, and there's this supernatural presence. There's, rata monsters, as he calls them, which are like radiation monsters. And there's this like boss monster that they're trying to figure out what it is and why it's killing people on both sides of the war. And I won't give any spoilers, but essentially it's a very fast paced, action filled comic that keeps you really intrigued throughout the story and leaves you definitely wanting more. And it ties really nicely into that Phenomenon comic magazine #1. So highly recommend this. You can tell that Patrick is leveling up from comic to comic, and he's, I think, going to have his next campaign started next month. So he is really releasing a lot of comics and not wasting any time. So, but yeah, show you a couple of the pages here, but really well put together. Really good story. I enjoyed the art. It's very kind of old school feeling. Feels like a 1980s comic with the art style. And again, really nice colors by Peter Gilmore and really good story. So highly recommend folks pick this up in the future. He just closed out this campaign, but I'm sure there'll be a catch up tier in the next month or two with the new comic issue. But definitely got some violence and gore in it. And yeah, fantastic looking Minotaur monster here. So excited to see where that series goes. So that's my indie comic recommendation for the week. The second recommendation is going to be a legacy comic, and that's going to be Swamp Thing by Demons Driven by Alan Moore, with art by Stefan Bissett and John Toldoben. Um, as many of you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Alan Moore. Him and Frank Miller are kind of the two pillars for me in regards to writing and learning from the best, but they're vastly different as well. what I really enjoy about Moore's work, it's very poetic. It's very deep. His writing, you can't just breeze through it. You have to really take your time and digest it because he's very, very detail oriented. And like I said, he's very poetic with his words. It's not just like simple dialogue, simple inner monologue, etc. And even the first page, which I love the opening to this, it's essentially it's essentially poetry. It's a beautiful opening, some really cool page layout and panelization here, as if it's like broken shards of glass, which ties into it's symbolic to the message that's happening in the first page. But really cool comic, great story. Obviously, really cool to see Etrigan and Swamp Thing together. Some really cool black and white art, and just some classic, gritty and just intense Alan Moore writing that's really raw and really hits you hard, and really good pacing throughout it. So, highly recommend folks pick this up if they haven't read it yet. It's one of the older Vertigo comics, but from '97. But yeah, fantastic comic. Definitely a comic that folks can learn from if they're new writers in the space. And then the final recommendation, which will be a mainstream TV show, is going to be Cobra Kai. So I was about maybe a year and a half ago, came down with the stomach flu, like it was hell. Anyways, I was just looking for something to watch while I'm laying on the couch, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go through the old Karate Kid movies. Why not?" And the reason why I wanted to go through them was because it saw that it was, the guy that plays Johnny Lawrence. It was his birthday, and it was always a running joke when I was in high school and college that he was my doppelganger because we looked very, very similar when he was younger and I was younger. And so I was like, oh, I'll go check those out again. Hadn't watched them in 20 or so years, but anyways, after I watched all the old films, I was like, oh, I might as well check out the Cobra Kai TV series. And I'll be honest, at that point, I was still a little bit. So I had a bit of the mind virus, right? That's been going around in the sense of assuming that everything mainstream is going to be bad, right? Because of all the rage baiters online and on YouTuber, they'll tell you everything on Netflix is bad. Every new movie is bad, blah blah blah. It's all woke and all that nonsense, right? And to an extent it's true with certain films and TV series, but not the case with Cobra Kai. They did a fantastic job with this series. It had a really nice blend of nostalgia, but also adult and like modern jokes, essentially. So you'd kind of assume, oh, it's going to be a little bit more childish and all that because of the age of the kids that are in it at the time. But they did a really good job making it like a fitting show for like teenagers and young adults, all the way to adults my age and beyond, but had some really good karate scenes. They really respected the source material, and there wasn't too much like messaging or, you know, wokeness or whatnot in it. But yeah, I think it was, I don't know, I think 6 seasons, but every season was engaging. They had really good storytelling. And even though there was a lot of like there is with a lot of TV shows where they're good and then they're bad and then sympathetic villains, etc., but they did a very good job keeping you engaged, tossing something new in there to ensure that you didn't get bored. And they buttoned up the finale of the series really, really well. So yeah, it's fantastic nostalgia, fantastic storytelling. Highly recommend it to anyone that enjoyed the old Karate Kid Karate Kid films. So yeah, those are my three recommendations for the week. All right, let's see who else is here. Got some more folks. Ooh. All right, we had a question from Jimmy. He said, "Why do you have a level 2 identify cover BT wearing a hat? Are you as bald as EBS?" No, I just need a haircut. And I'm growing my hair out, so it might be a while until I'm on stream without a hat. But um, also just a habit of wearing a hat a lot in the winter and whatnot. So, uh, got Aaron, Immortal Rising. Welcome. How's it going, man? We have Johnny Deckless. Welcome. How's it going? And Aaron said Skeleton Crew is good too in regards to Star Wars. Yeah, we'll jump into the Star Wars topic here next. Got Amazing Gaming Productions. Welcome. How's it going? Yeah, I agree. Very fun soap opera and martial arts show. Um, yeah, yeah, big complaint. None of them were fit. Well, yeah, given their age and all of that, or at least with Ralph Macchio and the main characters, but they did a really good job bringing back most of the main characters from the films, especially the quote unquote villains. But some of the teenagers or young adults in it were in really good shape, and you could tell they did some training and they made it really look like they were fighting or they knew what they were doing. And I think even some of the later characters in like the final season were actually trained fighters, which is really cool as well. So it's always good to see shows that bring in folks that are doing their own stunts. That's really impressive. So we have Mr. Christopher Bouchard. Welcome. Heidi Crisis. How's it going? He's got a bottle of Knob Creek ready for tomorrow. Yeah. I gotta decide what I'm gonna pick up for tomorrow. I don't know if I'll go with some vodka or maybe I'll go with some tequila. I don't know. We have Henry Thrun. Welcome. Listening while running on the treadmill. Hail. Got Katie Did. How's it going? Welcome. Thanks for being here. Got Glass Machine. And we have Lady. All right. So I'm sure everyone has heard because right, everyone's favorite rage baiters are talking about it and surely taking credit for the fact that even though they predicted it wrong for what, like 7 years now, Kathleen Kennedy finally is stepping down. And no, she did not get pushed out. And no, it was not a result of people making fun of her and complaining for all these years. It's because she's at the end of her contract. Just a natural finishing of a contract, not wanting to come back. Probably made enough money and is bored enough with the scene to where she wants to move on. But what I find funny about this whole topic is it was perfect for the rage baiters, right? Because they needed an easy person to blame. And so they got as much content out of her and Mark Hamill as they could. What's so hilarious to me is the fact that most people don't realize it wasn't Disney that hired Kathleen Kennedy. It was George Lucas. And who decided to sell it to Disney? George Lucas. So this is a problem with a lot of rage baiters and the content that they complain about is that they put all the blame on the writer or the director, for example, and they leave out management, right? They're the people that are to be blamed. Same with comics, right? With the big two. Yeah, you can complain that the writer did a bad job or the artist did a bad job, but ultimately, who's responsible? It's the people that are choosing to hire that talent, quote unquote, right? Same thing happened here. George Lucas decided to hire Kathleen Kennedy. Why? Who knows? She had some success, right, prior to Star Wars, but he handed his baby over to her instead of someone that he had worked with, right, for decades on previous films, someone that he could trust would respect his source material. So ultimately, it's his fault, in my opinion, that we've had Star Wars slop for the most part for the last 10 or so years. And he didn't need to sell it to Disney either, right? That's what I don't get is that like I would get it if you're like a small creator or the average person and someone's like, "Hey, I want to buy your property for $1 million or millions," and they're like, "Well, hey, I need to do it, right? It's life changing money. It's going to set up my family for life." Like, I get that, totally respect that decision, but for someone that's already a multimillionaire and famous, right, with one of the biggest franchises ever to exist, to sell it for money versus saying, "Hey, I'm going to sell it to somebody else, have a contract in place where, let's say he has to be the final decision maker on the direction that they're taking, or he has to be a consultant, right? Something to keep some control over your own property and, your creations." But no, he just sold it for money. And she stayed on as a result of Disney wanting to keep her on. So, yeah, of course, Disney can be blamed to an extent, but he was the one that handed her the keys. That's where everything went wrong. But these rage baiters they won't get praised. They won't get as many clicks, and they won't make as much money from super chats if they spend their time telling people like, "Hey guys, you should be aware that this guy that's been an icon to most of everybody, he's at fault essentially, right? You should be pissed at him. You should be out there saying, dude, you should get it back, or you should like somehow get involved. Like, why did you hand it over to her? Why did you sell to Disney?" Right? So I get complaining to an extent about the directors, about Disney, about her, but they weren't the ones that made the ultimate poor decision. It was George Lucas. And you'll see these rage baiters say, "Oh, we won all those all those years of hard work making stale videos that are the same exact brain rot over and over, the same exact thumbnails with some different text and stretching out someone's face a little bit differently. That's how we won. So keep giving us your money. Keep watching us because we're winning the culture." No, no, she's just at the end of her contract. She's made her money. She's probably just ready to move on. And it's very unlikely that Disney's going to hand the keys per se over to anyone that gives a shit. So at least most of us will see through the bullshit, right? But there's still going to be millions that just continue to consume that slop and the same messaging over and over again, and they'll find ways to make rage bucks off of all of this, or to create fake hype, right? "Oh yeah, somebody's going to come in and save Star Wars even though we've been saying it's dead, it's dead." So, yeah. I don't really care personally. For me, the first 6, they're enough. I loved all of the first 6. I know people had their complaints about, right, episode 1, 2, and 3 or whatnot, but I enjoyed everything. Um, I enjoyed Mandalorian to an extent, but they really got people hyped up for The Force Awakens, but yeah, it was disappointing. And that's the other thing, right? A lot of them praised it. They praised the first movie with Disney, and then all of a sudden, within years, they hate it, right? They want everyone to just cleanse that from their mind that they loved it and they praised it. Why? Because they make more money complaining about it and ganging up and complaining about it. Um, so you don't really know what these people truly enjoy and what they truly hate. Nobody. I mean, it's the thing. I get it if you're like a kid and you praise a movie. You say, "I loved it." But then when you grow up, you've been through some life experiences, you understand the creative arts a little bit more. I could understand you changing your stance. But when you're a grown ass man and then 2 years later you suddenly hate a film, that makes no logical sense at all. There is no film that I've watched as an adult that I've later on decided I absolutely hate it. Maybe I'll find some errors or minor complaints, after rewatching it. But in most cases, if I love a film, the first time I watch it as an adult, I'm going to love it even more every time I watch it because I'm going to catch Easter eggs and little bits that I didn't notice the first time. I'm going to appreciate the creative team that much more, the acting. So people need to keep in mind that this is a business for them. The rage bait gives them money, it gives them attention, it gives them clout, and they will find the negative in anything that they can, or in whether it's in the creative content or a situation like this. So expect a ton of tweets and YouTube videos around this, and also them trying to take credit, which no, it's not a result of that at all. It's a result of her just ending her contract. Has nothing to do with the fact that the films and a lot of the TV shows have underperformed, even though again the films they made a ton of money, right? Especially the initial three, but uh, yeah. So that's the Star Wars news. All right. So real quick, let's check in on my campaign here. Got to talk about that a little bit, I guess, since it closes out tomorrow night. We have been getting some backers recently. We did just cross 14, or we're $50. So essentially one backer away from $14,000 across both campaigns. So Indiegogo Fund My Comic, which is amazing. Just so happy to be in the position that I'm in right now. Let me refresh this. And we're just $103 away from 12.5. So would be awesome if I could get to 13 on Indiegogo somehow before the end of the campaign tomorrow night. If somehow I could raise 1,000 and get to 15 between the two, that would be the cherry on top. But initially, I was just dreaming of somehow getting to 10. Like that was like my ultimate goal, but I have exceeded that by almost 4,000, tripled the amount that I've raised since first launching the campaign here. So super, super happy and very thankful for everybody here that has not only backed but retweeted me, brought them, brought me on their show. Sat here in different streams like the awesome Eric Huffles and shared my link. So sincere thank you to everybody here and all the supporters. So as most of you know, two novels, mini comic about a gargoyle and team of vigilantes fighting terror in Detroit. There are a lot of goodies in this campaign. There are three versions of the mini comic. There are, like I said, two novels, but there's also a duology version with this amazing Joe Ball art here. 500 pages of prose, 15 pages of beautiful mini comic art. And yeah, there's pretty much any option you would want, whether it's mix and match, single novels, single comic. But the best bang for your buck is the let's get physical. You get both novels, all three mini comics, four art prints, two free or a free trading card, and two free laminated oversized bookmarks for just $50. And for anybody that likes to collect art, we have a three-piece bundle by Elliot Rodriguez that includes the original art for this gargoyle print, this grimoire art piece here, as well as the brick wall two-page like spread. And yes, it's an actual two-page spread. I didn't go for the cinematic experience like others, where you cut it in half and make them turn the page. But yeah, three-piece bundle, $250. We'll ship that out immediately, as well as the Skunk Artworks original painting, which it's like an 18 by 27. It's a big boy. It'll come framed and everything. That's also $250. So would love to get that in someone's hands and to have them put it on their wall. And for anyone that's already backed all the books, there are also lunch boxes, puzzles, aluminum signs, posters, and other goodies that you can pick up as add-ons or individual purchases here. So got everything in stock. So feel free to peruse. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. So let's check in with the chat here. We have Stormtrooper Julian Caesar. Welcome. And as we saw, we had Eric Huffles. We have Chris Bacon. It's not a BA stream until Niobe gets here and starts bitching about whatever. I know people want to riot. They're used to the chat versus Niobe and the Wheelers, but we will here soon be EFAPing their EFAP of the stream last week. So I guess they just couldn't express their feelings enough in the chat, even though, I mean, geez, there's probably 100 chat messages from those guys. So we'll get to see how they elaborate on their own stream and make our own commentary on it. So I have a feeling that'll be fun. And maybe they'll magically appear. I don't know, but I guess either they gave up or they're slacking tonight. I don't know. I don't know. So Jimmy Lumberjack says actually Kathleen Kennedy was on the credits to Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones. Um, she was maybe competent at the time, but she is not a creative. Maybe she is just good with numbers. And see, the problem is we don't know is was she the one making most of the creative decisions and deciding the direction that it was going in, or are there other forces, right, in Disney doing that? You know, with that being such a monster of a company, it's hard to say. I mean, we've seen what's happened with DC in the past and how they've changed films, pushed out directors, and there's a lot of hands in the pie really messing it up. So we don't really know how much of it is a result of her because, yeah, she has been attached to some really phenomenal films. So we know, like, she knows what can make money and how things are done. So who knows? But that makes sense. That's why he did hire her. So again, did she change or was it Disney that forced things to change? But like I said, if I was a millionaire like he was, I mean, multi-millionaire, I wouldn't have sold it for any amount of money. I mean, I mean, that's his passion, just like Vigilantes Creed is mine. I wouldn't want anyone deciding the direction of the films or the TV series. I would want absolute control over the direction. Partner with a film studio or whoever, but make it so that every decision has to go through you in regards to the direction or who's being hired to write, direct, and all that. I just can't imagine giving that up when you're already that fortunate financially. Just wild. So Jimmy asks, for Vigilantes Creed, we use the same artist for the comics campaign. That's TBD. I can't say yet, but I'll say there's a chance that there'll be some returning artists. But I can guarantee you're going to be extremely impressed with the artwork to come and the team. So I hope to announce that and have a sign up page before June. We'll see how things are going. Obviously, artists have other projects going on, so I want to make sure that they're finished up on other projects and they can focus, on mine without being pressured. Like I'm not in a hurry. I don't want anyone to rush. I just want to make sure they're in the best position to put attention towards my project, and then we'll go all out. So I will let people know. And yes, an EFAPception. They're always fun. Yeah, I could too. But they also provide a laugh because the things that they say is just they're so absurd. And you're gonna see some absurdity at the beginning of that stream when we jump into that here soon. So uh, so TMK says I started reading A Blood and Stone just yesterday. Looking forward to finishing the book. Awesome. Well, thank you for your support. And I really look forward to your feedback. That's awesome. I know they probably will get me sales. And based on their logic, they're trying to cancel me, but they're getting me sales. That's ironic. And yes, folks, go check out Cyberfrog Dark Harvest, Last Chance. Absolutely. We have Kanju. Welcome. We have timescales. How's it going? And this right here, I love to hear. And that's part of why I'm doing this stream is, I want to give back to those that have helped me and be a good example in the community, right? And it's regardless of if folks are CG or not. As long as they're a good, you know, characterization in the indie community, I want to get more eyes on more projects. I think it's a win for everybody when more people have higher, funded campaigns, and when just people get interested in indie comics. We need to get more eyes on crowdfunding, especially with all the nonsense narratives coming out of some of these well-known YouTubers, right? That is not helping anything. So I want to counter that. And yeah, that makes me feel awesome when, people back one of the campaigns that I promote as a result of watching this, or they, go check out other channels that I recommend, and then they end up backing campaigns as a result of that. Like that's what it's about. And I think there's a nice surge of people doing that, right? We obviously have Katie, who's been promoting the hell out of people. We have Patrick Quinlan that brings folks onto their channel. We have JJ Trujillo. We have Salty Draws. We have Frederick Woumont. We have Aaron from Immortal Rising. Like we have so many people that, yeah, we may not be really well known yet, but we're helping each other build up to the point to where more eyes will get on other projects, and hopefully we'll get more light shined on our channels, so that ultimately all these campaigns get noticed more. So but yeah, that's a great feeling. So speaking of which, let's jump into a little bit of promotion before we get into the EFAP section. So let's promote. All right, so the first one is the sign up page for Silence Do Good. And this is by our friend Salty Draws, also known as Turkey Robot. So we did a review of his issue one for Do Good a few weeks back. Fantastic art, awesome story. Excited to see a full graphic novel based on the series. And he does like everything on his campaign himself, like the coloring, the drawing, inking, everything. So super impressive guy. Um, Similar to Corey Barton for my campaign. So let's check out some of the art. Let me toss the link here in the chat. So sign up, it's free. Let's get some traction for him before he even kicks off his campaign. And yeah, let's get him hyped up. All right, so a little bit of information tied to it. So, the untold journey of Ben Franklin. What if America's most prolific founding father found himself trapped inside a VR program controlled by AI? Ben is faced with a decision that will not only change his life, but will challenge his core beliefs and could ignite America's first revolution. And it's going to be ready to print. Can't beat that. 80 plus pages of story and supplemental material, 76 pages of full color, high stakes sci fi, plus bonus content. Silence Do Good is a pulse pounding journey through time and virtual realities, crafted by award winning illustrator and writer Sean Salter, which is Salty Draws. It's going to be a ton of extras. We got covers that are going to be from Eric Weathers, Dan Lawless, as you can recognize here, that nice digital painting. There's going to be a sketchbook, character bios, 3 short stories. So yeah, definitely sign up to this. This is a very impressive and under the radar comic. So fantastic people involved as well. So go sign up for this. Absolutely. Yeah. It happens. It happens. Well, I say they because Comic Commandos, right? It's Patrick's channel, but there's a group of us that are commandos, right? And they all take part in promoting folks. But yeah, that's funny. All right, let's pull up another campaign here. So the next one, which is currently at the printer, but it's not too late to pick it up, is Battle Brick Road 2 by our friend Eric Weathers, the lettering man. So let me pull this up. So he has this funding on his website here. So let me get that link in the chat here. So he is just shy of $87,000. This is definitely a campaign that should be at six figures, in my opinion. I think he also has maybe some catch up options here as well, but he's got a cover by Ethan Van Sciver, as you can see here, a John Malin cover, his own cover, just fantastic art. This is a guy that obviously knows how to letter, but also is a fantastic artist. He's even got a Kelsey Shannon cover, so fantastic team of cover artists. And yeah, won't be a long wait at all since he's at the point where he's going to be printing. But obviously, for folks that are a fan of the Wizard of Oz property, so let's. Oh, and this is Battlebrook Road 1 here. So yeah, you can definitely pick up the first issue and the second issue. So let's read through the description here in case this is new to anybody. All right, so Battlebrick Road Volume 2 is a 70-page graphic novel. Return to the fallen utopia of Oz as the Thea's mission to find her missing father grows more deadly with every step down the yellow brick road. Along the way, Thea and Toto are joined by a vengeful scarecrow, a childlike autom- automaton, almost misread that, and a downcast king. Join the journey as the unlikely team searches for the fabled Emerald City and the enigmatic wizard rumored to reside within its walls. Battlebrick Road 2, volume or cover A by Eric Weathers and colored by Brett Smith. So yeah, definitely check this out. A very unique adaptation to the Oz property, and yeah, some fantastic art tied to this. You can also get the Roadster car as well. He's got some patches, so a lot of cool stuff that you can add on here that is only $12 here. So let's do what we can to get him over the $90,000 hump. No, I'm sure he didn't print 50,000 copies. Oof. All right, so that's our promotion for the week. Oh, I know. It happens. I'm still getting used to all the lighting and all that. Getting smoother, but it happens. It happens. I'm a writer, not a talker. So, all right. So let's jump into the EFAP. So first off, don't be too disturbed by the first image that you're going to see. Um, give you a little bit of backstory on how the Wheelers started trolling or agitating. Um, they were going at Richard Hombre, or Hombre, as I like to call him, on Twitter, and they were essentially trying to criticize him for critiquing someone, but they were doing it in a very rude fashion. They're acting like they don't attack people, and I simply just jumped in the Twitter thread and was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like 2 weeks ago, like prior, they had jumped in and just like started trying to insult my campaign and this and that because I was having a disagreement with one of their friends, and I was being respectful. But I mean that doesn't matter. So, anyways, he tried to pull some like, "Oh, you're fat or you must have been ugly in high school." Nonsense, right? And so, I just posted one of my pictures that are already on Twitter, like, yeah, sure, right. One of my, posing pictures or whatever. And then, he seems he saved the picture to his phone and started making a lot of weird posts in quote tweets with sexual innuendos and perversion, which no surprise given their comics. And then he got other pictures from other people, myself, from the classic, trolls like Student of God and all that, which means they all, of course, are saving pictures of other men and sending them around. But we've heard worse. So yeah, weird enough. So you're going to see a little preview of that, which they had to put into their EFAP because it's totally irrelevant, right? Um, looking at pictures of other men. So yeah, let's dive into this. Hmm. Not weird at all. Right. And see, the thing is, people that are ashamed or embarrassed of their own masculinity or lack of being in shape or whatever, they tend to lash out in this way and try to turn it into a joke and try to make you feel like you should be embarrassed. But why would I be embarrassed? They think that bodybuilding is strange, right? Or not heterosexual. Um, I guess they need to go to a bodybuilding competition because it's extremely enjoyable. Some of the female classes that are there, if you're like a single guy, for example, right? But they wouldn't know. Guess they're not very cultured. But yeah, why would I be embarrassed that I was in very good shape and the fact that I was nearly a professional natural bodybuilder? Like I won my weight class several times, got like middleweight champion and all of that. But why would I be embarrassed by that? It's nonsense. Like, I'm proud of that shit. I busted my ass. But very weird to call another man prison bay. It's just anyways. So that's how they essentially open up their EFAP. So and it's titled B.A. Turner EFAP, Ethan Van Sciver Hard Cope. What did last week's stream didn't even really have anything to do with EVS, but that's like right where their mind goes every time. Like he is on their mind nonstop. They can't think about anybody else other than EVS. It's so sad. So get the volume up. Let me know if there's any volume issues, and let's check this out.
Ah! Ah!
I'm gonna fast forward. That's getting even weirder. What the heck? Uh,
It's a lot of silence.
all right, here we go.
He doesn't talk very much.
So this is yeah. After he got called out for several years for not promoting indies, he basically threw a bone to a handful of indies, which I think were conveniently selected.
Why is it Eric July's job to promote people in indie comics? What is this mindset that CG has about, oh well, you have to promote me, or you have to help me in my journey as one of these indie comic book people?
So this is the narrative that they use every time that we're demanding promotion, right? When they need to just learn basic definitions. When I say someone should do something, that is not a demand. That is not saying it's an obligation. It's a recommendation. It's a preference. So just listen closely. Every single time, I'm very clear. I say, I think he should. I think creators in general, if they give a shit about the space and they want the independent creator space to grow, should promote others. That's simply a preference. It's a recommendation. But they're always lazy and they say, oh, they're commies. They're trying to demand. It's an obligation. No, not at all. And it's not his job. I just simply think that, especially now, given the optics around what's going on with the Ripperverse, had he been more supportive of other indies, he would not be facing the backlash and criticism that he is now. And he would have more sales and a lot more friends in the space, which is good business.
Like, why? What makes him your daddy? Like, why can't you do things yourself? These people in CG.
I do promote myself and I do promote others. I'm doing it right now. I just went through my campaign. I never once asked Eric for promotion. At this point I wouldn't want his promotion. So it was never about him promoting me. It was about the entire space because a lot of people in CG and in indie space in general are used to seeing others promoting people, that it's not just this insulated I, all about me, just my business. It's more like collective, it's more of a collaboration and networking event than it is to just say it's all about me without admitting it's all about me. But I don't have that mindset.
CG are so used to having everything just handed to them. They can't function in a normal. Yeah, exactly. Who cares if you need these YouTubers?
Some people will recognize that troll who has Henry Bennett, which he has like 5 different freaking Twitter handles and stuff. But he went from trolling um, Eric July and sending EVS videos and kind of worming his way into CG to now doing the complete obvious, right, to build his channel.
Promote indie comics. It's not their job. It's not their job to sit here and hold your hand and teach you the ropes or help you or show you what to do or introduce you to their audience of paying customers. Like, what the fuck? Why would he even do that? I mean, that's half these people in indie comics. Their books just totally suck.
Yeah, CG books totally suck compared to your parody books about pretty much half naked, like X-Men as girls and Star Wars and all that. Like, yeah, I would love to see you put your book up against Inglorious Rex or any of the Cyberpunk books, and we'll see who's got the higher quality books. We all know the answer.
They're bad. They're badly drawn. They're badly written. So what's he going to do? Tell his fan base that, hey, yeah, you should back this shit book. So not only are they unhappy with the shit book that they backed because of his recommendation, but now they blame Eric for recommending the.
So, and this is such an annoying tactic here, and it's funny that he calls this. He's saying that I was coping when how emotional he's getting here. Kind of, it's the opposite here. But he tries to insult the backers by saying they'll just buy anything that EVS or any of the bigger names promote, as if they can't think for themselves. I wonder if he has the same views towards Rippaverse backers or buyers, right? The thing is, EVS and the big guys, when they promote a new campaign, they're just getting it in front of people, right? They're not pressuring anyone to back any of the campaigns. People have their own minds. They are going to decide if the art and the story is in line with what they're looking for. Sure, there are times when folks just want to support a campaign. They want to help, someone's dreams come to life, and they'll back it. And they're just gonna kind of roll the dice to see if it ends up being their cup of tea. But they're gonna get that first book, and then they can make that judgment of, do I continue to back this creator in the future when they have, book 2, or when they have a new series come out. Backers are not stupid, but they are generous. They want to help creators, and they're eager for new material. So, yeah, they may just roll the dice on a new creator, and we'll see. Maybe they'll come back for the second issue, maybe they won't. But to assume that they're only buying it because EVS or someone is promoting it is nonsense. Especially considering that there are, right, big YouTubers pushing books that are not, they don't look like they're really for traditional fans. And in fact, some of them are literally for kids, and you have adults acting as if they're excited to read a kid's book. It's strange to me, but you don't see him insulting them. Just somehow CG backers are not able to think for themselves. Like, get out of here. You sell books to, I don't know, potentially incels and people that like have to, I don't know, look at nudity and smut in the form of a comic for entertainment. Like,
Shit book they had to back. Make it make sense. I'm growing my own audience. That's what they should do. Yeah, that's what everybody should do. This whole mentality of we're going to leech off of someone's fan base is just ridiculous.
Yes, that's a good point. They cannot stand and they can't stop thinking and talking about EVS because he refused to promote their app or their books, right, years ago. And they had falling out. So they're actually insulting themselves because they wanted that promotion. They were desperate for that promotion at some point. They wanted the CG audience. They got turned down by one creator and decided to just give up instead of, hey, try other people. Like, just try to, I don't know, get in front of the CG audience and impress them with your books. But no, they didn't do that. So that is very funny, right? They wanted his promotion, but when they didn't get it, all of a sudden they're doing this, right?
You can't siphon people from someone else's fan base. They're after that creator because they like what they do. They're not going to buy your shit
Mhm.
too. I mean, maybe they will, just a small percentage. But I mean, if your stuff's that good, these people are going to find it on their own. They don't need someone to ingratiate you to them. That's just not how it works. You know, if they see your stuff, they're going to buy it if they like it. Simple as that.
Right. If they see your stuff and they like it, they're going to buy it. So what's the harm in EVS and other folks allowing more people to see it? That's what it's all about. Let them see it. They'll decide from themselves if they like it. If they like it, they're going to buy it. And that's what we're trying to spread in the indie community is, hey, the more you show people all these different projects, the more interested folks can get into the indie community and start backing more books. And if you help somebody get some funding, they're more likely to share your book and your link with their audience, and everybody wins. And the audience wins because they get more books, and they'll decide based on consuming that first book or whatnot whether or not they want to continue to support said creator. And if they continually back them over and over again, I'm sure they're very thankful that that initial creator shared their information, right? Got their, the creator's book in front of them. They're not going to be mad about it. And again, that's an optics thing. Every once in a while, he'll do an optics uh, push just to be like, oh yeah, see, I'm proving all my critics wrong. I actually do this. I do that. I mean, come on, I shouldn't be getting attacked and criticized.
Many think their way is the way, and anybody that does it differently is a threat. A lot of it stems from economic illiteracy, where
Economic illiteracy. Hearing that. He's used that word at least 1,000 times.
BA is so mad that he's used it 1,000 times that he had to go look it up each time to find out what it meant.
Such a funny joke. Yeah. Someone that works in corporate business doesn't know economics or what the word literate or literacy means. He's trying to appear as if he knows economics, right?
What's up, Ross?
As if he's a specialist in economics. And most of the stuff he talks about is just common sense.
I don't think he's trying to present himself as a specialist.
Are you shitting
He just
me?
said economic illiteracy. That means you just don't know shit about economics, which is most likely the case.
He's constantly trying to prove to folks or highlight that he's a good businessman and that he understands economics, but he doesn't show how or why, right? It's all about the optics and the illusion in using verbiage so that he appears that way. That's what a lot of us are calling out. And I get a laugh out of everything that he does because he makes the classic mistake, which sadly those that follow him do not. They're too gullible to realize what he's doing is that he tells, he doesn't show.
We got Razor Comics in the house. What's up, comic book guru? How you doing, bud? Yes, right, Mike. Dropping knowledge. Yeah, trying to help somebody out. You know, maybe someone out there will fucking learn from this. Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Yeah. he literally made a business channel on YouTube to try to like show off his business knowledge or whatnot. Yet it's not doing very well. And again, the videos that he's pushed out, they're not helping anyone learn anything. There's nothing specific to them. There's no knowledge bombs or anything like that. You don't see him going through like in a spreadsheet and showing like, hey, here's a cost breakdown. This is what it looks like. This is how it works. Here's all the different line items that you need to consider. Here are all your fixed costs that you might experience. Here's your variable costs. Right? Let's just do some basic, revenue versus cost. Let's show you how to do a break even calculation. All that, right? And yes, that's stuff that people could find out on their own, but some creators will overlook it because they're hyped up about a campaign. Like they want to do whatever they can and they're in a hurry to get their campaign out there. But if someone that's creating comics that could have influence on other creators in the space, like make a video, they're more likely to consume that than some random right video that's not pertaining to comics. And it's good to have it specific to comics. And that's something that he could do and actually grow his channel and grow his business, especially since I believe Ripasend offers consulting options or whatever. Like I'd like to know based on what? Like, what's he going to consult in? I mean, the creative side, yikes. I mean, the business side, I mean, where's there evidence that, besides raising a lot of money or having revenue, again, revenue is not profit. That's the only gauge for any of these folks that he's been successful, but that does not mean his balance sheet looks good. We don't know.
Who knows? We got a Lasmat in the house. What's up, Lasmat? These Efaps of Eric July at this point are so tiresome. The nitpicking is just so gender queer.
It's not about nitpicking. Again, it's countering his narratives that in a lot of cases we feel are not actually good for the indie space. That's it. No different than when he counters a political stance of a politician, or he counters, oh, I don't know, any messaging around any of the mainstream films and all that, right? Fair is fair.
Yeah, for real, man. I don't understand it, dude. Like, how are you going to sit there and harp on a black man so hard that that's like your entire channel now? That's all you're gonna.
And see that right there just shows that he doesn't actually know what I do on my channel. I've only had a couple videos that pertain to Eric out of what I think I'm up to like 65 videos or something. At most, it's 10%. But again, it's because it relates to the comic space. I'm trying to bring awareness to counter a lot of the narratives that I do not think are good for the space and specifically new creators. And I know this because I am or was a new creator. And if I would have taken a lot of the bland advice that he's providing, I would not have the successful campaign I have right now. Right? If I would have taken his advice of don't ever ask for promotion, I probably wouldn't even have raised the $5,000 that my goal was based off of. So not only would I have been kneecapping myself and preventing myself from raising enough money to create a full comic issue, I would have deprived my audience and my backers from a great story and from a great experience. So it would be a shame in many senses. I mean, and that's just one of the many examples of bad advice, in my opinion. So I don't want other people to take obvious missteps that they can avoid. I want to help others learn from my experiences so they can have successful campaigns because let's be honest, there are a lot of creators out there, regardless of if their book is good or not. There are people that have released really good books that they lose wind because they don't raise enough money or they make some of these mistakes that put them in such a hole that they just can't continue to create. That does not help the space um, at all. So I'd like to help people avoid such situations. like creators have helped me avoid, right? I have, like I mentioned in a previous stream, I had conversations with Joe Sontag and other creators that gave me advice and helped bring awareness to different factors that I needed to be aware of in order to have a successful campaign and not, you know, basically overshoot. And if it weren't for those people, I wouldn't be in this position I am right now. And I wouldn't be here with you guys. So I want to try to do that for others. And I think more folks that do that, the healthier the space will be.
Gonna do? You're just gonna harp on a black dude and make
They're the ones that always bring race into it. Such an SJW tactic. Like nobody cares what the race is of any comic book creator.
low-key racist innuendo jokes about this guy. Who gives a fuck what Eric does? I mean, if he wants to have fucking horrible titled books, poorly written, whatever the fuck, let him do it.
No fun, guys. No jokes. Not allowed. Canceling jokes. Can't make fun of names anymore. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's not hurting you. If anything, it should help you, because if you put out a better product than his, you're going to do better than him.
No. You're not going to raise more money than him. Even if you have a better product or book in most cases, it's based off of reach. He has reach. That's common sense. And in a way, Mike is insulting himself there. And he's insulting Niobe because if their books are better than Eric's, why aren't they doing better? But I'm aware enough to know that there are plenty of folks, and a lot of folks actually, that are making better books than him, but not raising as much money. I mean, that's common sense. It's no different than the film industry or music industry. There's plenty of bands and films that make less money but are of much higher quality than some of the blockbusters or the ones that make a lot of money. Star Wars, for example, Captain Marvel, perfect example. Horrible film, made a ton of money, but that doesn't mean it was great, not by a stretch.
You know, that's kind of how this shit works. If you put out something better, they will buy it. Sick avatar. Yeah, that was drawn by Les Gardner. LP's in the chat. I will drop a link out for LP. I sent it to his email, but
The Ghost of Niobe.
I'll go ahead and send it here in the chat too. He can come on. Razor, you can come on too if you want. I don't care. Lazmat, always welcome on. Still on. You're the only person speaking sense, but you're not trying to be part of it.
It was funny.
have to,
I
dude.
think we had like 40
Don't need to.
at the peak, 40 live viewers.
You can definitely build on
last
your
week,
own.
which
You do not need to
I'm humbled by.
know,
It's
dude.
awesome.
I'm fucking living proof of that.
But you know, they were so mad that they couldn't get their point across, and you guys were countering them so well that they had to get a live stream going, right? Because they're going to do it better than me, right? They're better creators than me, better at YouTube, everything, right? You know, he has like 1,000 subscribers. I have a humble little 500, but all 500 are awesome. But he's got 1,000 subscribers, and I think at his peak he had like 6 or 7 live viewers. So it's like, what's going on, dude? Come on. I have a feeling the same thing's going to happen when I release my first comic issue in terms of funding. I'm very excited for that. It motivates me. Believe me, it does.
I have been telling CG to fuck off now for 7 years, dude.
7
I've been
years.
telling these fucking people to kiss my ass. And I
Just because EVS wouldn't give him promotion.
have built my company bashing these fucks left and right. And
So I won't pull up his campaigns because they're not appropriate. I call them perv books. You know, it's smut books, a lot of parodies of like X-Men, but with like a lot of just like lewd women running around and stuff. So I mean, that's I guess what they're known for. But yeah, I literally would not. It wouldn't. I wouldn't feel okay pulling up any of their example material. So
And dude, they're so small, they're so insignificant. Nobody even knows who these people are. It's crazy. No one even knows who CG is. That's how small these people are. But they think they're so big because they're on Twitter. And they're like the only ones on Twitter other than Eric July. So they think they're just fucking hot shit. And no one even knows who these people are. Uh-oh, night letter. Gonna have a night letter coming from JD. He done said.
Get him up a little bit more.
You talk more about your brand and build off that, your audience growth will be more organic and everlasting. Yeah, 100%. That's true. I've tried to network. Yeah, 140,000 views. Yeah, dude. And you should grow your own thing.
Yeah, they're rage baiters. They jump into chats to try to get attention, and sometimes we'll play victim and all of that. Stirring up controversy is how some of these folks will try to bring attention to their books. I mean, it doesn't bring them any backers. I mean, some of them think that if they get the attention of the anti-CGers, that they will just start backing their books. But most of them are either just making the same amount of money, campaign over campaign, or in like Niobe's case, they're making less. So,
because growing your own thing is how you become successful. That's how you go forward in this game. You can't expect someone to just hand you their audience or show you what to do. You know, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, then you owe that person. And then they can also cut that success off at a moment's notice by throwing you under the bus and telling everybody what a piece of shit you are. And then you lose all of that momentum and you have to start from the ground up anyway. I mean, is it worth it? I don't think so. Comics in general is tiny. Yeah, dude, it's a tight knit. Everybody is 3 people removed from anyone. You know, I was saying that in the Discord server and on this other place. I think there's a group. They're over in the UK or something. They put out a bunch of nude stuff too. But I was like, man, comics is a small community, and they were all laughing at me. They're like, oh, bullshit. No, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, dude, actually, it is. And anyone in it's going to tell you the same thing. Yeah. Well, we got the link in the chat there, LP, if you want to hop on, man. Post it again in case you missed it, because you might be over there talking mess. Oh, there he is. Never mind. All right. Well, we got LP in the house. You guys are in for a treat. Broadcast extraordinaire here.
So that'll give you an idea of the books that Niobe creates. Obviously inspired by Japanese kind of like feminine books or whatever, with kind of beige comic covers.
Whoa, I'm here.
Welcome, LP.
Wow, it's been an amazing journey, man. Sorry it took so long. I'm like Kermit the Frog. You know, I just type away. I don't care what I'm saying, what I'm spelling, how I'm doing it. You know, it's just like mad. It's like blah, ta, 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 ta.
Yeah. Dude, I've had my run.
That's why I left Twitter, because it was driving me mad. It's like people seem to think I got banned from Twitter. Said like, I'm sorry, LP, but it wasn't me that got you banned. I'm like, no, I know, because I'm the one that deleted the Twitter. You know what I mean?
I did it to myself.
No, and you know what? I've been off for a week, and I get tempted to like sneak on there and see what's going on, but I don't. You know, and it's been a good week of just like sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously, I don't know what Tyler's doing anymore because I'm not on Twitter, right? Like, you know, I don't have an alt account anymore. Like, I just haven't logged on with anything. I would have to make a brand new account, and I don't feel like doing that, right? And so you can't.
Come on, put some effort into it. Twitter is literally a gold mine when it comes to indie comics. I mean, I'd say at least probably 20-30% of my backers came directly from just pitching on Twitter. So come on, work harder.
Oh yeah,
like, spy on Twitter now, unless if you're logged in. So I haven't looked. I don't know what's been going on Twitter all week.
Well, that's good. I mean, sometimes you need a break, man. Sometimes
not even a break. I'm just done with Twitter, right? Like I moved from Twitter to Instagram.
Instagram's
more
really
on
good.
Instagram.
Instagram's really good. Yeah.
I don't miss Twitter. I think
So,
Twitter's
I heard
for the combat, the fight. You know, like I never got
tell us
much
about
promoting
TikTok.
on there.
I heard you say. Tell us about TikTok. I heard you say on your stream yesterday that you were actually live on TikTok. How's that going, dude?
I'm TikToking my way through TikTok, Mike. live
Skip
on my
forward.
YouTube and Facebook. Why not? You know the ins and outs, and if you're still,
He was rationalizing his homosexuality.
no, I didn't see that. So his super chat money and pimping out Cyberfrog, and everyone else is sort of secondary. If
So their favorite creator comes into the discussion, of course.
not third or fourth, you know.
Well, speaking of EVS, did you see the other day he was rationalizing his homosexuality?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? Oh,
No, I didn't see it, man. Like, you know, I can't watch everything. Like, fuck, you know what I mean?
Okay. I'm gonna show it to you real quick. I have to show it to you because this is gonna make you laugh. You know, all right. So I'm gonna play. I got a good clip in. So here we go.
Arios B Wagon read this one. Crusader Joe says, "Holy shit! Mike is posting prawn his wife drew of you in order to own CG. I didn't know he was a straight up cock." Yeah, those guys put out comic books of me where I'm a homosexual, and they're so weird. Like, yeah, like I'm wearing like I don't know, garters and like high heels and stuff. It's no different than what Camel Moon used to do. But the weird thing is, they're like, "He fucks Cyberfrog," and so they put Cyberfrog.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see. Maybe we'll have to snipe that. Let's see.
They gave Cyberfrog women's legs, and I'm like, no, hold on a second here. See, this is where creepy kind of hillbilly backwoods shit kind of comes to a head with sense.
Pause.
If I were gay,
Pause.
Yeah.
He's got no room to complain about that. I mean, especially after Dirt Room Doug and those covers and the Centipede Train and all that sort of shit, right?
Yeah.
No room to complain. That's all I want to say.
Not at all. Oh yeah, but this gets funny, right? This is where he's trying to rationalize it, right? He's saying my story doesn't make sense. Watch.
No, he's trying to
Cyberpunk
justify
have a
why
man's-
he's not bothered by it.
Right.
It's like
and
Camel
this-
Moon.
this
It's like
is-
Mad Magazine, you know.
Yeah, but it gets good. Watch, listen.
sense. If I were gay, wouldn't Cyberfrog have a man's hindquarters? Why are you putting?
I think we can all agree that it's just weird that he is making a parody of Cyberfrog, but B, making it in a sexual manner, and then C, that he's trying to mix human and cybernetic creatures, right? Yet, they're the type that are trying to insinuate and make jokes about people doing ridiculous things with animals and all that, right? So, but it's okay if they put that really weird shit in their books.
You know why?
No, I don't know why. I'm kind of
All right.
curious now, though. It's a good
All
point,
right,
right?
check it out. Cyberfrog is a man, right?
And what a man.
Cyberfrog is a male, whatever. It's
That's how we
he's
check.
a man. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if a man gets gender reassignment surgery and becomes a woman,
Mhm.
it's still a man, right?
There's lots of debate on that.
So you also have your creatures changing their gender in their books. Like, how progressive. Good for you, Mike. Like, you're just making yourself look worse.
There is, but still, let's just say for the argument, the answer is yes.
Sure.
So if he's gay and he is also a crossdresser and he is getting with a man frog who has gone through the surgery post-op, if you will, he's still gay, right?
Yeah, but the weirder part is that it's a frog.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to
But
be
he's
concerned about
trying
that part.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't even care about that it's a frog and it's a fictional character. He's more
You
concerned on whether or not he's gay.
What? Like, whose mind goes into such scenarios and thinks about such things? Like, yeah, definitely don't think EVS is the weird one in this situation or scenario at all.
Hmm.
The things that plague people, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
A woman's hindquarters on Cyberfrog? That would just mean that I like it'd be the equivalent of a mermaid. You know what I mean? Like a mermaid is half woman, half fish.
Yeah,
So
spit
if
it out.
this were half frog, half woman, that would just mean that I like frog maids. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which would, it's heterosexual. It's a little weird. It's a little spooky.
You're
Like
a
Troy
leg man.
McClure from The
I
Simpsons. He
feel
kinda likes
bad
to
for
fish.
the guy below him. I feel bad for the guy below him.
don't even know who
who
that
is
dude
having to
is.
set-
Oh, you feel bad for the guy that's outfunded you severely? Mr. Andy Smith, an actual professional that does some fantastic art and stories. Yeah.
there and agree with him. Oh
Razor
my God.
Comics, good to
You
see
know,
you.
that's all. Sure, who isn't? You
A
know?
brick?
Yeah, those
Exactly.
really creepy, weird, fucking backwoods hillbilly types.
Like the Centipede train wasn't really creepy and weird.
Yeah, or the Sturgis sitting on under Santa Claus.
Yeah.
No, that was funny. That's not nearly as weird as what you just spent 10 minutes talking about.
Or the song that Daddy is gonna rape us all.
Yeah, or Wolverine
Come
is
on, Corey.
gay.
Yeah, not creepy and weird at all.
Yeah. Not creepy at all. No,
Yeah,
not at all.
it's just, human beings in general are hypocrites, right? Like if we're gonna look at every human being, we're gonna find something hypocritical about every fucking single person. So
Right.
you just can't put any faith in these fucking people anymore. Like,
Yeah, you can't.
everything people say, I almost take it as a place of bad faith until I learn what their agenda is.
Right?
That's such a sad way to live. Like, it's one thing to be have a healthy kind of level of skepticism when it comes to people, but to assume that everyone's gonna turn out to be weird or whatnot is just, I don't know. Screw that.
I
I mean,
totally
I'm
get
serious.
that.
That's kind of where we are in the world, man. Fuck.
Yeah. All right, so you want to watch some of this B.A. Turner stuff and Efap a little bit or what?
Yeah, he's long-winded. But yeah, we can watch some of it. I mean, are we gonna go to the
I
beginning
can
or just
speed it
jump?
up. Do you want me to? Well, I
Long-winded. You just talked about a scenario of a half frog, half gender swapped legged creature for like 15 minutes. Really?
already started like maybe the first 3 or 4 minutes.
All right, we'll just continue on from wherever you are.
Yeah, all right. So I'll you want me to speed up the playback?
We'll figure it out as we go. Just let him play normally there for a second, and then
All right, there we go.
if I'm
Which
fucking
is
yawning, then
huge
yeah.
mistaken, right? You got to make sure that you show that you're not just telling. And he's constantly just telling folks how it should be, but he's not actually showing. Like, where are the tutorials? Where
Pause.
is a hour long?
It's not Eric's July to hold your fucking hand, man. You know what I mean? Right?
Same exact counter. It's Mike's. That's so funny.
There's
Right.
no one holding my hand when I came in the fucking comic books in 2014. There was
Yeah.
hardly any channels that you could go to hang out with people to learn from. That shit really didn't exist,
Yeah, well, it exists for us because we have channels that we can all hang out on, we can collaborate on, network, right? It's not about holding anyone's hand. It's just about not being an asshole and wanting to help other people. Like, it's just trying to be a basic, decent human being. That's it.
Yeah,
There
and I
was
mean,
no,
I
like-
learned every.
Yeah,
Go
there was no guidebook that was just fucking handed out to people. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. The majority
No,
of the
it's-
stuff that I picked
if
up,
he
I
did
picked
it,
up from
that's
watching
great.
you.
I learned it because of you, man.
Well, I'm serious. Like half the shit that I picked up, I learned from watching your streams.
So, and I'm glad that we're able to do that. But we don't do it because people expect us to do it, right? We do it because we want to. And that's a choice that Eric.
Okay, you literally just explained a majority of the CG folks, right? They want to stream with other people. They want to promote one another. It's not about expectation. I never expected any of those guys to promote me or bring me on their channel. It just happened. I had some luck. I had some good networking. That's it. I promoted them and I ended up getting promotion. It's that simple. And I've learned, just like a lot of other creators have learned from watching their channel, right? We've learned from their critiques of others, but we've also learned just about when it comes to their advice or when they do reviews. There's actual like learning experiences from some of these streams.
would make. If he wants to go ahead and put out tutorials, great. I'll probably watch them. But these people are criticizing him because he doesn't do it. What they're trying to say is that all he does is take and he never gives. In fact, I had made this.
Yes. When it comes to CG, he only took from CG. He didn't really give to CG at all. That is a major complaint of a lot of folks in CG. And it's very understandable because several channels brought him on, promoted him. Thousands of us retweeted his campaign, pushed it in the spirit of, hey, let's lift up indies, right? We're thinking, hey, he's going to be good for crowdfunding. He's going to bring more attention to crowdfunding, to independent creators. He's going to promote people. Like, this is going to be good. This is that injection of new backers that the space needs. But nope. Everybody gave him a ton of support, but he didn't give it back. He didn't bring people on his channels. He didn't do legitimate shout outs or any of that stuff. He just raised his 3.7 million and then kind of just quietly started stepping away. And then as people started to speak up, then he just completely cut it off and he's like, has nothing to do with CG. And then it's like Iron Age or whatever, right? And then like he started just shouting out the people that he was hoping to hire, the people he was trying to court. So you can tell there's like a strategic tactic to who and how he promotes people, which is very few and far between. Nope.
The same argument about him in the past. But then I had to really think about it and be like, he's running his business. He's got a comic book company. I got a comic book company per se, if you will. He makes a book. I make a book. He sells a product. I sell a product. Why is he going to give me all of his secrets?
Right.
There is
Yeah.
no
See, I think
there is no secret. It's just the fact that he had 500,000 YouTube subscribers, like 100,000+ Twitter followers. There is no like secret to his success. The success is a result of all of his previous endeavors. But man, it'd be interesting to hear him if he tried to give people his secrets, like what he would say those secrets are.
think what it is these CG people are just so used to having everything handed to them. They're ingratiated. They're expectant of, you know, someone bigger than they are giving their audience away to them, and they're just so used to that happening that they don't know.
It's not about giving an audience away. Like backers are not slaves, right? They're not drones. You can't just give them to people like, oh, they're all gonna buy. No. It's about just getting projects in front of your audience so that you can provide your audience more options so that you can give them entertainment. Because you know what? If I were to say, hey guys, go back Immortal Rising to Burnt Offerings, it's a fantastic book. You know, especially if you're a fan of D&D and all of that. Someone goes and picks it up and loves it and they come back and say, "Oh, that was an awesome book. Thank you for the recommendation." They're probably going to be more likely to then back my campaign. And that's how you get that natural growth amongst creators. They're going to appreciate the fact that you promoted people other than yourselves, and then they may just take a closer look at your campaign too. And then they may start watching Aaron's channel and they may find other projects that are good for them as well. It's about giving people entertainment. It doesn't matter if Eric releases 20 comics a year. People read more than 20 comics a year. Well, comic book fans, right? Just like people watch more than 20 films a year. You are never going to be able to provide enough content for someone to fully be entertained year round. No way. So there's no harm in showing folks other campaigns. And don't also assume that, oh, well, if I show someone a campaign and they back it, that they're not going to have money for my campaign. Like, stop assuming that people are poor or brokies. I hate all that fucking nonsense when people use language like that. Like it's insulting. People are going to buy something they're truly interested in. Period. And just because they may not pick it up in the first 30 days or the first 60 days doesn't mean they may not pick it up 80 days later, 120 days later. If you still have it available, they'll pick it up if it's truly interesting. If you are not pitching it properly, and if there's not enough intrigue attached to your campaign, that's why they're not going to back it. It's that simple. So it's about making your campaign attractive more than anything. And maybe he's afraid that his campaigns or his books are not attractive enough. I mean, many of us would agree that that's the case, but obviously having the following he does, it gives him a lot of grace.
Know what it's like to function on their own. I mean, hell, that's why they're a member of CG to begin with, is because they can't do it themselves. They would
There's
fail.
usually CG is sort of like the last place you go when you can't go anywhere else in comics.
No, it's not the last place that many of us went to or whatever. No, a lot of us stumble upon it, right? Especially the newer creators. Like, it makes sense that like professionals, like once they get pushed out or disinterested in the mainstream, that they're going to gravitate towards CG, right? Because it's very hard, obviously, to stay in the mainstream and be CG. So it makes sense that that would be where they go after, right? They cut ties with the mainstream. But for new creators like myself, like Patrick and all of that, what do you mean the last place? What other great movements or groups are there in indie comics? I mean, seriously, think about it. It's just indie comics as a whole, and then there's CG. Which now, if you just say, "Oh, I'm just going to pitch to all of indie comics," right, and not focus on networking with a group, for example, you're really going to struggle with reach because there's not a lot of folks, especially prevalent folks, that are doing promotion streams that are really helping get books out in front of people. You're not going to get shout outs. You're not going to get promotion from FNT and all of those folks because they're not going to benefit from it. So they're not going to bother. So, yeah, you can have a fantastic looking campaign, but the likelihood that you're going to get a bunch of like new like, organic backers on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, it's not extremely likely, unfortunately. It happens once in a great while, but it's very unlikely. Folks in the indie space that become very successful are a result of gaining traction and reach from networking. And that's what CG is all about. And yes, CG doesn't work out for everyone. And people like me, we're not like, oh, we're only going to deal with CG, or we're not tribal like that at all. But it's very obvious to people that are in CG that it can be great for networking. It can get you on several channels and it can get your projects in front of people. And that's what it's all about. If you don't get it in front of people and you're just blasting it randomly on social media and you do not have a pre cultivated audience, it might not matter how good your comic is because we're indie. We don't have people doing marketing for us. We do not have legacy characters. We don't have any advantages going into it at all. So it's not a last resort. In a lot of cases, it's a first resort for new creators. I, however, stumbled upon it. I was writing novels at the time, but I wanted to get some comic book style art for my novels. And I was just starting to pick up more comics and get more into them as a result of comic book movies. And that passion for comics and the visualization just grew as I got more art and as I started to collaborate with people like Corey and came across people like his brother, came across people like Joe Ball, Joe Sontag, right? EVS, Shane Davis, all these folks. And I didn't expect any of them to promote me. And in most cases, I didn't even ask them. It just ended up happening. I was just patient. And yes, sometimes there's luck involved, but it was all about networking. So definitely not the last place I would go. It was by luck and by stumbling upon it the first place I went. Why? Because I found an awesome artist that gave me fantastic art and connected me with others. And it just grew organically from there.
And it
Right.
usually happens to people that have been canceled for whatever reason, whether it had to be something in comics or outside of comics or what have you. They just know at this period in time they are not welcome, right? And so
Yeah.
people will join CG. These are the only people that will have me. You want to call me a villain? Fine, I'll go be the villain, right? It's the only way I'm going to be
Yeah.
make money in this business. I almost did it, right? There's a few times I was
I love how he just says, "Oh, we're just deciding to be the villain. Like we're just gonna be Bane." Like, no, we just want to get our comics, our books in front of people, and be able to continue to create. That's it. Like you can literally be part of CG and not be attached to any drama or any of that, right? And still get on channels and still get your campaigns funded, right? Joe Sontag again, perfect example. right? He's not in on the drama or any of that stuff. He's grown his channel. He raised like almost 75,000 or something. It can happen. But he had a killer looking book and he did network. He got on channels. He got some great commissioned art and boom, successful campaign. And that's why I saw what he did. I listened to his streams, and that's why I reached out to him for advice. Took that advice, and here I am. And now I want to pass on whatever advice or experiences that I can so that someone else can hopefully, hit the ground running as well. That's to me what CG is about or can be about, right? When harnessed properly. At least that's what I'm going to do.
Tempted to be like 5 years of being canceled, not being able to go to cons. My brother, he said to me, "Well, fuck, man, you might as well just join them if they're going to blame you for being a part of it anyway." And I'm like, "No, that's not the point. The point is I never had them to begin with. I don't need them then. Didn't need them now. Don't need them in the future. I'll fight my own battles."
Yeah, that's just the way to go.
Long video showing people how to do a cost breakdown, right? How to manage print run sizes.
No.
How to
No. I mean, sometimes I'll speak. You don't need to pause it there. I mean, he's just evoking reaction.
aware of-
I covered it. It's not Eric's responsibility.
Yeah,
hidden costs in indie comics, right? There's so many things that he could actually help folks on, but I don't understand why that's not happening, right? Because it's not. And a heads up for folks, I do plan on doing more videos as such, like I'm describing. I did do one a few months ago. I think it's titled like "Are Indie Comics Too Expensive?" And you'll see there's a picture of a spreadsheet. So if you want an example of me doing that, I think that's a good starter video where I just show some potential scenarios and what the break even point would be and just try to show folks like, hey, here's what the fixed cost could add up to based on different page rates, right? For all the different artists that you're going to be hiring, right? And then here's all of your variable costs, and here is how it all comes together. And I want to do that on some more topics in the future. So I'm gonna, not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. But for anyone that is interested in something like that, you'll see that on my channel. It's not great.
Well, I explained
marketing
it to you.
material. It's probably
not
not
happening
going to
because
bring
why
dollars
would
to this
Coke tell
company.
Pepsi how to make
But-
their product better?
yeah,
Right?
it makes no
Why would
sense.
WWE tell AEW what they need to do to be competitive?
Right?
Sizing other creators and how they do things sure does seem to get attention, unfortunately. And then I'm sure he's about to bring up the whole fixed pie thing, which nobody in indie comics has ever said it's a fixed pie.
No, pretty much
all.
it is. Pause.
The biggest struggle for indie creators is
Yep.
the lack of
No, it's a fixed pie, and I'll tell you why.
fixed pie. Let's see what his
Because
argument
there is
is
only
here.
so much money in the economy. There's only so many people in the world. And out of those people, and with that money, there's only so many of those that buy comics. It's even a fewer amount that buy and know what Kickstarter or an Indiegogo is. Okay. So
Which is exactly why people with reach that give a shit about the indie community should try to get the concept of crowdfunding in front of more people. Plain and simple. You're saying that, oh, the pie's fixed because only so many people know about Kickstarter. Then get Kickstarter in front of more people. Get these big channels that say they give a shit about indies and that they're looking for better alternatives to actually show average everyday people, hey, Kickstarter exists. Hey, did you like comics as a kid? Do you still want new comics because you're not a fan of the mainstream? Boom, here you go. Here is Kickstarter. Peruse it. Oh, here's a couple specific examples of people that I recommend or campaigns I recommend. Ah, now the pie isn't so fixed, right? You can bake a bigger pie. And the whole argument of, oh, there's only so many people that read comics. Every year, there are people that age. And as kids age, as young adults age, they can grow into being interested in different mediums. It's ever shifting, right? And so if you can get an interesting concept and art, characters in front of people, even that don't read comics, they may read a comic if you actually get them interested. Even Eric proved that a good chunk of his his audience are not like comic book fans. They're not like big, passionate comic book readers, but they're buying comic books, right? So clearly it's not a fixed pie.
There are
Mhm.
very limited amount of people that buy what we do, especially in an industry right now that is like just rocked with bullshit, right? From
Yeah.
overpriced comics to diamond collapsing, okay, to publishers all gonna be flooding Kickstarter. You know, everyone is fucking
Artists out of
scrambling,
work.
right?
Yeah. Artists
So it
out of
is sort
work,
of a
writers
fixed
without
pie, right?
jobs, books
Every fucking
canceled.
comic that is on Kickstarter right now, including yours, is my competition.
Yeah.
Right? If someone comes to Kickstarter, let's say JD Kirby in the chat comes to Kickstarter, he's got 30, 40 bucks in his pocket, right? He's going to back one project this month. Well, I hope it's mine. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, I mean, that's the difference between you continuing or not a lot of the times, you know. Not, I don't mean you specifically like that. I'm not saying like you need that, but I'm just saying that it's a difference maker. It matters. It matters where people spend their money, and you want them to spend it on your stuff.
Limited amount of people that buy these things, and they're on a limited amount of budget. It's a fixed
Right.
pie.
It is 100%.
Nope.
Let's carry
No
on.
reach. There is a struggle to break out without, outside of your following. And that's because the big accounts, the big, conservative content creators, the big media outlets are not doing anything to push indies.
Why
They
would they?
just want to spend their time complaining about the mainstream, getting those rage bait views.
What are you doing?
They don't actually want to offer up a solution or an alternative. They're not focused on that at all. That's the struggle of indies. Is
I'll tell you what he's doing. He's putting out a rip-off Gargoyles fucking book from a 1990s TV show. That's what he's doing.
I mean, I know he hasn't done a comic.
Yeah, I always find that lazy narrative hilarious, and he's said the same shit on Twitter before. A knockoff or rip-off Gargoyles book. Have you seen your own books? It's literally smut X-Men, smut Star Wars, smut, or like, I don't know, marijuana-based freaking Toy Story. Like, and you're an adult. Like, and he tried to say that I was I can't remember what author it was from a long time ago that made a gargoyle novel, and he's saying I'm ripping it off, and it's like, you realize that gargoyles were not created via fiction books. They were actually created by artists like hundreds of years ago, put on churches and all of that, right? Grotesques and all that, put on old traditional buildings. So, are you saying that anyone that's ever done a fiction adaptation of gargoyles is ripping off, whoever created the first gargoyle statue? And anyone that's read my books and watched the Gargoyle TV series knows that they're immensely different. The storyline is completely different. The powers and abilities of my gargoyle versus the gargoyles in that series are completely different. The backstory, they're nothing alike. Gargoyles is a medieval backstory with more like magic and sorcery, where Vigilantes Creed is a biblical backstory and it has supernatural and biblical lore, completely different. So, but yeah, such a lazy accusation, especially people that literally make parody books.
Comic yet, and what was supposed to be a comic
Hold on,
looked like a
Patrick.
pamphlet.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, like not very many pages. I think he sold it as like, or said it.
And
was
I'm
gonna be
supposed to
an
take
Amazon.
advice from this fucking guy when I've been doing this for a decade.
I've never pushed anything onto you, Larry, or expected you to take advice from me. When I talk about comics, like I'm talking primarily about storytelling, right? Creating three-dimensional characters, making sure that you have an intriguing character arc, consistency, things of that nature. When I'm talking about art, I'm not like giving advice to people in regards to how their, line art or inking should be. I'm primarily just calling out fantastic art that I think is good for the space or that I think is beautiful. Like, I'm not trying to push any advice on to people in regards to how they do comics. I simply have critiqued a few comics and called out things that I do not think are good for the space. But you'll notice that I don't go after any small creators. I actually make it a rule that I don't critique or do negative reviews for small indie creators. It's just not my style. And I am not smug like people assume, where I'm like, oh, my way is the only way or anything like that. No, I just like to talk about the aspects of comic book creation that I think will help others create a proper comic, and call out things that I do not think will help them in comics. That's it. Just like anyone that makes observations. That's it.
Right?
Getting
And he hasn't even
seen,
put out a
getting
full-fledged
noticed,
comic yet.
getting the word out about it.
Right?
It's not that the pie is surrounded by a 20-foot fence with
Same
barbed
here.
wire. No. It's just, it's got a wall that's made of brick that you got to chip away at. And it takes a lot of chipping and time to break out and,
Sounds like
and try to get
hibbity-jibbity.
the attention of others.
Doesn't it?
So, based on Mike's logic, as well as Student of Gods, Niobe was just a bit racist there, using the term hibbity jibbity. Oh man, shame for shame. Not the
Where people look at the market like a fixed pie, as if someone else's
Okay.
success attributes
I
to
wanna
their
hear the
own
rest of this,
failure.
too.
It's
I want to hear the Eric video.
Why?
He's not going to.
Why the stock images and stock videos of a guy making it rain in a business suit? Yeah, that's very, very comics, right? That's totally going to
Very embarrassing.
speak to
Those
comic
images and
bookers
videos.
and comic
Why in the
book
fuck do
creators.
you care?
Who said his fucking audience is comic book people? Who
But
said
why
that?
does it matter to
He's
B.A.
selling
Turner
comics.
what images Eric uses in a video to promote his product?
Yeah, that too. But I mean, I'm pretty convinced that a lot of Eric's fans, they're in it because they like Eric. They're not in it because they're comic book people.
It could
They're in
be.
it to support him.
Well,
Sounds like he just insulted Eric. He hates it when he says that, when people say that people are just buying his books because of his notoriety or following, and not because of the actual books he's putting out. Ooh, ouch.
I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure there are some comic book people that came in. I'm sure a lot of it's
Yeah.
his fans, like,
Right. I mean, he was successful before he got to the comic space.
I mean, it'd be like Andrew Tate when he put out his comic, right? Or Mr. Beast or
Yeah.
Voice Critical, right? They
Keanu
all were
Reeves.
famous. So they had a built-in audience already.
Right.
Yeah. And that's literally what myself and many people have been saying. That's actually what kicked off the entire drama spin cycle with Eric and Immortal Rising. Because I had made a comment somewhere on Twitter saying, hey, most of his success is a result of his previous endeavors in pre-cultivating a fan base. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, kudos to him. That's awesome. You literally can't beat that situation. It's extremely fortunate. If anything, I'm giving him props for that and the hard work he did prior to comics. And, one of his simps was just like acting like I'm insulting him, as if I'm discrediting his comic book success, when I'm just saying, like, no, this is just a fact. This is common sense that the work he put in prior to comics is what is driving his sales. And of course, that person ended up tagging Eric. Eric did a quote tweet, started a dog pile on me, and Aaron and Murder Rising just stepped in and was like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what BA said. He was just stating something calmly, and all of your guys are just sitting there like attacking him. And that's why Eric looked up Aaron's storefront campaign on Fund My Comic, right? He didn't go to his Indiegogo where he had raised over $4,000, had a successful campaign, first campaign. He went to his storefront and made the donation. Didn't want any of his books, but made the donation as if like, oh, and he had some long-winded bullshit statement when he was talking down to Aaron, like, oh, looks like your campaign needs some help. Here's a little donation so that you can make it happen. Maybe you should focus on working harder. Some nonsense, right? And Aaron said, "Screw you! I don't want your money." And then ended up raising like over $1,500 or $2,000 after that as a result, because CG had his back and it brought awareness to his campaign. Because CG's like, hey, we don't respect what he just did to, one of our friends, one of our colleagues. So, it motivated people to
do what I'm, I'm pushing. Like, hey, get people's campaigns in front of others. So
And they're saying that his failure is attributed, or he is failing because his numbers are going down. And I don't think that's failing. I think that's just market adjustment. He comes out with this book. Not everyone's gonna like it. You know what I mean? There's going to be some fall off, and yeah, he's going to lose some people. But just because he does that and he's still continuing on doesn't mean that's failure. That's just.
I mean, if you're
market
telling
adjustment.
me that issue 3 doesn't sell as much as issue 1, that is basic comic book logic, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So
been
yes, there's
around
going to be a drop, and I'm sure that drop.
yeah, but the drop off was literally off a cliff. Um, Especially going from ISOM 1 to ISOM 3, right? 3.7 million to now, yes, it's only at 300 now, but my guess, if he's lucky, it gets 7, maybe 900,000, right? I mean, that's a huge drop off. And then he's going to have to, again, keep coming out with new characters and new comic book issues. But like we saw with the Great War of Separation or whatever, and, Yaira too, like it's significant drop off to where he's trying to push as many books as possible to just bring in more revenue more frequently. And that's, I don't know if that's going to be a great formula, right? Versus like, hey, let's try to reset. Let's come up with a fantastic new character or property, and let's just get a killer artist. Like, let's actually prove the detractors wrong, right? Let's prove the haters wrong. Let's monetize them, and let's put out a book with the most phenomenal art the indie space has ever seen. Let's take a year on it. Let's take our time, right? And instead of raising 200,000, finally raise like 1.5 or 2 million again. It's going to be a lot cheaper too to do that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But that's what I would do. That's what I'm going to do now with, the minimal budget that I have.
Was expected. If I came
Yeah.
out with a brand new series and we're on the shelves, everyone will buy number 1, and then fewer people will come back for 2. It's not that they're not even interested. Some people just collect number 1s. Some people will buy it to check it out. But it's, you even look at Absolute Batman or say
I mean, Shane's a great example, right? I mean, he's literally grown from Inglorious Rex 1 to Inglorious Rex 2. Like, he's consistently raising $200,000-$300,000. Like, that's super impressive. But that's because he's improving over time, not just in art, but storytelling. And he's got characters that are interesting and that are creating intrigue. That's why I backed his campaigns. Exactly because of that. So that's how you can maintain an audience and potentially grow. And if Shane comes out with a new property and it has just as interesting characters, then boom, he's going to raise 200, 300,000 again. But the thing is, he's not trying to rush anything to where he's like, oh, I got to have X amount of campaigns per year. No, he's trying to maximize each individual campaign. And that's why they're as successful as they are. If he tried to start cutting corners and started sacrificing quality, he's going to end up sacrificing, funding. And he's doing it the right way, 100%. And there's going to be more people doing it. I have full faith that same case, Joe Ball, Joe Sontag, their next campaigns, next projects, they're going to follow the same formula. They're going to be improving. They're going to still take their time. They're going to learn from previous campaigns, but they're going to continue just focusing on quality. And that's why I think they're going to not just maintain their audience, but have growth over time.
Ultimate Spider-Man. Is
Yeah.
number 10 selling as well as number 1? Probably not.
No. Yeah, very rarely does that ever
Right on,
happen. in
Flippy,
comics. And
welcome.
if it does, it's usually because there's a plan first.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Just that you're considering it. Thank you.
Experience of a character or something.
It's
to
no
that effect
shocker
going
that
on.
ISOM number 1 would be his highest selling comic because it was the first fucking one, man.
Yeah.
That's a collector's item to people.
Yep. And not just that, you got the speculator kick on the back end too. They're
This is
going to
what I
buy
mean.
2,
This is
3,
kinda where I'm
4
going
copies,
with
10 copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
These people don't understand any of that shit. You know who speculates on Comicsgate books? Fucking nobody. They don't know what a fucking speculator is, dude.
Well, I think Black Riding Hood and some other CG books are doing much better in the secondary and collectors market than ISOM, especially considering, I mean, you could buy ISOM for $5, and right now you can get Alpha Core for free if you spend like at least $100 or something on a campaign. So the really good books in CG are going to hold their value or increase. Feels like an orientation video at a new job, but 10 times more nauseating. Just
else's success attributes to their own failure. It's a very catty industry.
Fuck yeah, it is.
he had to not just use the word caddy, he had to put in a video of two cats fighting.
No, BA, that's a couple of angry pussies.
They make this far more difficult than what it needs to be. Then turn around and
What?
It is true. People are making this more difficult than it needs to be. Eric should just do his business.
His
Ethan should
videos
do his
truly are.
business. I'm doing my
Remember.
fucking business.
pretend
You know, it doesn't need to be fucking blood and guts every fucking day, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's pointless. You know, it doesn't really serve anything or help anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
like
It's one
this
of the
is
reasons
just
why
how
we
it is.
stopped fighting, because it was getting fucking old. You know what I mean?
dude, fucking years of us going back and forth.
Fuck,
Like,
you
I
know?
mean, it's like there's a point where you're just like, fuck, dude, I'm tired of it. Like, what is this? What's it helping?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
That's how it is. It's tough out there. No, you're just being an
mad.
ass and overcompensating and treating this like it's the cool kids club. I don't
It's true.
Go back.
it is the fucking cool kids club. Like it or not, BA. That's what this shit is. If you're one of the cool kids, you're gonna be fucking successful. And you know how you can become one of the cool kids? By making fucking money, dude. By selling your product that people actually want. You know, there's this whole group in comics, especially in the indie sphere. They even call themselves the cool kids. People like Eric Basuda, Ebas, people like Nihai Rafino, people like Don McTeague. They're the fucking cool kids. Okay?
And
even
they don't
call
know who those
themselves
people
that.
are.
Exactly.
What I was going to say, you know, as far as the cool kids analogy that's being used, you know, Eric's referring to it more or less like, you know, think of the high school, right? You have all these different cliques, you know, and you have the cool kids, and the cool kids are basically the ones that are sort of like gatekeepers in the way he's thinking, right? You know, so like in BA's world, the cool kids are the ones that sit in the Comicsgate King show, right? BA's not running them. If he was, he'd be.
I mean, a lot of the Kings are like some of the most successful indie creators, especially funding wise. I mean, look at Billy Tucci, right? Right now, he's collectively over $200,000 on his latest She book. Like, come on, why aren't these two guys doing that? I mean, that's pretty much near like War of Separation and Gooding numbers. So, you know, there's a lot of guys, you know, Graham Nolan, again, Andy Smith, all these guys that are raising well over 50, upwards to, again, in Shane's case, over $300,000. So yeah, it's a pretty damn cool kids table, essentially. Well, it's a table that's definitely got a lot of cash on it because of the amount of money that they're raising. They'd be so lucky to get promotion from those guys or even crack 50K on a campaign.
Part of the cool kids club. He'd be at that table. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the end of the day, when it concerns Comicsgate, it's only who is at that table that really makes any real amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you have to.
And no, that's not true that only the people in the CG Kings raise money, right? We've seen plenty of examples of, again, we've got Joe Sontag raised like 75K. We've had, you know, Bancroft in the past, you know, he raised what, like 70K. We have Joe Ball who raised like 90K. I mean, come on, there's plenty of folks that are not Kings yet that have raised a lot of money, and there is going to be more coming in the near future. I mean, guaranteed.
Suck Ethan's dick to get out.
Oh yeah, that comes with the price, 100%.
It does.
Listen to that.
make this far more difficult than what it needs to be. Then turn around and pretend like this is just how it is. This is how it is. It's tough out there. No, you're just being an ass and overcompensating and treating this like it's the cool kids club. I don't.
Who is he referring to when he says that you're being an ass? Again, is he talking about mainstream creators? Is he talking about indies? Is he just talking about creators in general? Because if it is creators in general, damn, shots fired, right? Like, this makes it look like everyone's in the same boat and he's painting a broad brush. And to me, this could make indie creators look bad to his audience, right? As if indie creators have the same mentality as if we play victim. Now, some people do.
He plays victim all the time. Just 5 minutes ago, he was like, "Why doesn't Eric July show me off to his customers?" Wasn't he? Did I just do that just like 5 minutes ago?
I don't know. Is WWE going to say they're better than AEW?
All the time, probably.
Right?
That's if they even acknowledge they exist in the first place.
When
I mean,
you
they're
run a business, you want people to think that you're the best in your business, right? If I run an ice cream stand and there's an ice cream stand on the other side of me, I'm going to say we have better ice cream than they do. Our prices are more affordable than theirs. We have better selection than they do. To drive business to my ice cream stand. You have competition. Of course, Eric is going to come out and say, yeah, my books are the best. Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, we're doing that. Because he has to hype up his own stuff because he's the one fucking selling it.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with hyping up your own projects. I mean, that's a big part of marketing, but the thing is when you're, blatantly making things up or exaggerating extremely or taking major shots at other people, that's when folks are going to call you out, right? When you say that you are going to make something definitively better than the mainstream or dance on the graves of, all that nonsense, right? When you come in with a huge ego and talking major trash, and then your book doesn't live up to expectation, then it's going to make it really tough to not be criticized in the future. Exactly. Yep. You slap someone, don't be surprised if someone slaps back. Exactly. And a lot of folks in CG have to endure a lot of slaps, but a lot of us will slap back. So, but that gives, these trolls and agitators an opportunity to try to take things out of context and do clips and whatnot to make us look bad. But the folks that watch our streams know what the reality is and what the truth is.
Right.
It's up to
He's the
people
pitch
whether
man.
they believe him or not after they get the product and they go, yeah, this is the best thing I ever read, or maybe not so much, right? But
Yeah,
Eric
I mean,
has to try to convince people this stuff is good, just like everyone else has to do that.
And taking it back to wrestling one more time, every time he gets in front of the fucking camera, he's cutting a promo.
Sure.
He's got to be. Every time you get on your stream and you're like, hey, guess what? It's day 3 of fucking Niobe Kickstarter. You're
Right.
cutting a promo. You got to be.
Sure.
Always
I
be
mean,
selling.
you're on YouTube, you want to try not to be boring. I mean, sometimes it happens, but I mean, you want to at least come out with a little bit of personality, right?
Something.
We play the victim card, and I do believe Eric does quite frequently. But he's trying to make it seem like it's everybody else that's like this, but not him. Like he does it right. He's a true, businessman and entrepreneur.
I don't doubt the Japanese folk have their share of the same. It's just not as prominent. And I think that's why a lot of the aspiring new artists are more manga inspired in their art styles. Countless amount of people have unfortunately seen what I've had to endure, for example, and
See, right there is the victimhood right there.
their art styles. Countless amount of people have unfortunately seen what I've had to endure, for example, and they've been turned away from being creators. They've reached out.
Okay.
Come on,
If
put it together.
Eric being criticized has prevented you from being a creator, that's just sad. If you are actually passionate about your property and what you are doing, you wouldn't let anything stop you, let alone some big YouTuber.
I don't
being
think that's what Eric was
criticized.
saying at all. I think Eric's
I
saying
would
a lot of
love-
people
what
are
do you think he was
submitting. I think Eric's saying a lot of people are submitting him bad artwork. He's like, he's using this picture of the guy with his hand over his face. Like, if you had to endure what I had to endure for the last 10 years and see all this shit that's been submitted to me, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I got out of it. I mean,
Dude, still to this day, Eric's titles for the things he comes out with drive me up the wall. Like, I'm like, couldn't you think of maybe something a little catchier that would be a little bit easier to find in Google? And then it hit me.
Wait, wasn't he just taking a shot at the fact that we make fun of his titles, and then he was just sitting there taking a jab at the name of his titles and characters?
It's like maybe he's doing this shit on purpose, coming out with the absolute worst names, because every time I have to think about one of his titles, I end up Googling it and I look him up, and now I can't get him out of my head. So
Now he's alluding to that it's just a big troll operation. He's purposely giving his characters and titles really bad names to troll like CG or whoever. So that is actually insulting to July if you really think about it. So it's flip-flopping quite a bit.
I
something
think
else
it
he was saying.
reverse worked.
There was something else he was saying that I want to touch upon. He was talking about, and I don't mean B, I mean Eric, right? In the video, Eric was talking about, younger artists, submitting manga, and drawing manga, and that's what they're influenced by. That's absolutely true. I was at the university here in our city with a few other local creators, and we were invited to do a workshop on comics and shit. I didn't see anyone drawing Americanized style comics, dude. They were all in their 20s
Really?
and 30s. Yeah, these people that showed up, they all were showing us manga. They all wanted to draw manga. That was their thing.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Charles was telling me something like that similar. That he was over at a school and that's all they did was the Japanese style manga stuff.
Yeah, I mean, young kids right now who are drawing,
Blah,
I'm sure
blah,
there's a few
blah,
exceptions
blah.
out there, but for the most part, from what I've seen, they're not out there trying to be the next Jim Lee. Okay, they're trying to be the next fucking Chainsaw Man. Our product. Go to AEW.
Oh.
They buy off of eBay or whatnot, right? But a lot of them don't.
I think the best possible thing, right, it would be if your property.
That's pretty much it. Just goes on and on. There's very, very little substance, obviously, to their arguments. I think they went on for like another hour, so I won't make you guys endure any more of that, but you get the point though. But the thing I wanted to highlight was they couldn't get enough out during the chat last week, and so they had to make they literally titled it a cope stream, and I think that was more referencing to themselves. So but yeah, that's a brutal stream there. So one other thing I wanted to touch on a little bit, obviously going into my closeout, I had a really interesting tweet that I saw today. Let me pull this up here. Kind of a good chance to talk about Vigilantes Creed a little bit here. So I had retweeted my pinned tweet, which I've had up for a couple of years now, which kind of elaborate a little bit into why I started writing Vigilantes Creed, right? The motivation behind it. So, my tweet goes, I started writing Vigilantes Creed to keep myself alive through the worst of times, but quickly realized that I wanted to make an impact on the lives of others with my story, just as it did for me. And that I hope this story can help others through the darkness that this world creates, or at the very least, provide them with an entertaining escape. I think everybody needs a distraction from time to time and needs escapism, definitely, with how hard reality can be for folks. And I said this ties into why I want to be supportive of other creators in the space and push positivity. And, the world is brutal enough, so why make it harder, for others? And, one gentleman that I eventually found out had actually backed my book, which was really cool. Had made an interesting post here. Let me go back to it here. So, he said, what got me into writing? How do I maintain my drive? What's my motivation? And what am I planning on, doing in the future with it? So, of course, I didn't want to go through too long of a response here, but, for me, I've said this on several streams in the past. I came up with this idea. Ironically, I was getting a gargoyle chess piece when I was probably like 21, 22. And the night after like the first 5 hours of that, not a comfortable tattoo, by the way, in the rib cage and sternum and all that, but I had this like really vivid dream of that gargoyle being on top of a cathedral in Detroit and looking over the city, and just this concept of him like being the protector of the city and trying to fight crime. And it just like stuck with me for years. Like it was every time I thought of it, I just played out that dream in like full detail. And but I was, too busy with college, with work, with at the time bodybuilding and all that to ever think I could make anything out of it. I definitely underestimated myself for a long time. And then like I started going through some like a really, really rough period in my life. And in the excuse me, in the middle of that, I just one night got home from a movie. I think it was Fast 5 or 6. It was the Fast and Furious where Paul Walker exits, right? After he had passed away. But anyways, had a lot of liquid encouragement, you know, was feeling a little emotional from that send off that they gave Paul in that film, and was just like, you know what, just gonna pull up my laptop and just start typing. I had no idea what the character names were going to be, where the story was going to go. I just had that visualization of this gargoyle overlooking Detroit. That's it.
no notes. And I just sat down and just started typing. And then all of a sudden, the name for Slade came up. Obviously, I was heavily inspired by Deathstroke and all of that, which played a part. But and then it really expanded. I wrote for like 2 hours, 3 hours to like 3 in the morning. Absolutely loved it. Woke up the next morning and was just like, wait, did I actually sit down and did I write something? Couldn't quite remember, you know. And I went back and I read it and I was like, holy crap, this ain't too bad. And that's where that creativity or that confidence also just got sparked. And I just sat down and continued to type. And then every morning and every day after work, same thing. Just continued to type. When I was at work, I was constantly jotting down notes, even handwriting some chapters, and it just continuously bloomed. I just fell in love with the story, fell in love with the characters, and you know, 5 years later, I had two full novels. And so, as I was, writing the story and it was helping me heal, helping me get through these times, I was like, you know what? I want this to be a motivational story, an inspiring story. Obviously it's based around traditional heroism and I want this to be a story that could help somebody through a dark time, right? I want the story to relay that hey, even if things are horrible now, things can change, right? You can persevere. And so that really inspired the story arc. And I mean, ultimately, the character arc for Slade and Dread Knight was to help others through a hard time. And was never thinking about money or sales or anything. It was just like, hey, someone could read this and come back to me and say, hey, this really helped me through a hard period of time. Like, thank you. Like, it was all worth it. And so that's that's what really helped me maintain my drive was like, hey, not only do I want to complete the story and make the most of it, but I want it to have an impact on others, just like certain films and books have had an impact on me. Um, because those stick with you, those titles, those authors' names, those directors' names, they stick with you. And I think that's like the most powerful aspect or motivation of being a creator is like being able to create something that people remember, but that your name is on, right? Something that can continue on, after you're gone, or that can bring your kids joy or a sense of pride. So, that was again the motivation too was wanted to create something beautiful with my name on it, um, and that could help others, heal as a result of essentially my own pain and suffering that I was going through. And then, obviously, I have plans for a third novel, which is outlined and everything. I'm gonna wait until I have this first comic issue fully written before I change gears and get back into novel writing mode. But obviously, my focus is 100% on the on the comic right now, and that's what this extra funding is helping with is so that I can get this done and get as much done before I kick off the campaign so that I can run the campaign the same manner that I did this time. And I hope to wow people in terms of the art. I want to have a book that stands out in the indie space that can also hopefully motivate new creators and existing creators like, hey man, yeah, you can create something fantastic, something that stands out and relay my story visually, so that I can impact them in another way and really really powerfully relay my story and the characters. So um, yeah, wanted to kind of elaborate on that a bit. That was a nice kind of trip down memory lane in terms of him bringing up that those questions. So wanted to kind of share that with you guys. So but yeah, if anyone ever has any questions, whether it's before or after reading the book about how characters were created or anything about the characters or myself, just feel free to reach out. I enjoy talking about it. I mean, I love the story and these characters. That's I don't have any. I don't really plan on working on other genres or other universes. Like, I'm the type that just wants to hyper focus on this and just take it as far as I can and get the most out of it because I love the universe so much. And so I'm going to be all about Vigilantes Creed for many years to come. And there's enough real estate right now to probably do at least 10 comic issues. If I can get growth and continue to bring these comics to life and several novels as well. So very excited to see where this can take me. So, and yeah, exactly. Tune in to Katie Did's channel tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will do a party closeout. So excited for that. So please spread the word. Please come swing by, have a drink, and at this point, everything is a bonus. Every dollar I raise, I'm just going to be passing on to my line artist slash inker at this point, and it's just going to make the process that much easier and smooth to get the comic kicked off and into your guys' hands. But regardless of if I even get any new backers, I just want to enjoy it. It's going to be a nice feeling to close out the campaign. It's been a great experience, and you know, it's just been a major win. So just want to celebrate with everyone that's supported me and have a good time, and yeah, answer people's questions and talk about Vigilantes Creed. So yeah, appreciate everyone being here and enduring the EFAP of an EFAP and talking about Star Wars and everything. So recap though, please go check out the sign up page for Silence Do Good by Salty Draws. Please go back Battle Brick Road 2 by Eric Weathers before it's too late. And yeah, check out Cobra Kai. Check out Minotaur, the first um, Phenomenal Tales comic from Mr. Patrick Quinlan. And also make sure you check out Swamp Thing by Demons Driven by Alan Moore. And yeah, have a good rest of your night and God bless. Take care, guys.